Uh,
Yeah. Sir, I will just give some greetings, then I will give floor to you. So, hello everyone. I am Atharva Kanthi, Vice President of Political Science Association, and I welcome you all here for a debate competition which is on the topic freedom of speech is non-negotiable. This activity is a part of Human Rights Week, which PSA celebrates every year, and this is the day 4 of this week. Now, I would like to invite Sham sir here, who is going to be the moderator of this debate to explain rules and moderate the debate. So, floor is over to you, Sham sir.
uh, Thank you, Atharva. Now I'm going to introduce you the topic. The topic is freedom of speech is non-negotiable. The rules are regarding with the time. As you know about that, both the groups which are going to be agree and disagree will get 10 minutes each to explain their stand on on the topic in the first round. There is two round. The first round and the second is a counter round. In the second round, participants will argue and counter argue points of other groups. So for that second round, here is a duration of 25 minutes. Uh, uh, and the third thing is that we have conclusion round for both of the groups. Each group will share 5 minutes. For each group, there is a 5 minutes for to conclude, and means each individual from the beginning almost deal with only 2 minutes. So for the first round, you should explain what your points you have in 2 minutes. In the another round, you have almost 12 minutes for the entire group. So you can go with the 3 minutes in the your second round, and in conclusion, you should conclude in 1 minute. In the conclusion, in the third round, you should conclude in 1 minute. So for the first, there is 2 minutes. For the second round, there is a 3 minutes, and in the last round, there is only just 1 minute to conclude you. Along with that, we have marks distribution. I'd like to give you the example like uh, 10 mark is for the strictness to the topic. Means you are if you are strict to the topic, you will get 10 out of 10. The second is that facts and citations. There is 20 marks for facts and citations. Facts and citations, there is 20 marks. Talking with examples, and you, if you are elaborating with your daily life examples, and you are going to be elaborate that, you will be get 10 marks. So 10 marks for the examples. And well counter arguments. If you are countering anyone with well facts and well examples, then there will be 10 marks to you. So ultimately, it's 50 marks for each individual. So my best wishes with you for achieve better marks. And along with that, respect the other's view and their right to speak. Violation of this will create negative impact on your score, and ultimately marks will be directed. Means you should be aware that everyone has right to speak, and you should must be respect the others' right to speak also. So is it clear? Is it clear to every participant?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, from my side, it's a go ahead. Over to the Atharva.
Yeah. So before, like, sir has given us permission to start, but before starting, I just want to say one thing for the participants. Those who can, please turn on their camera, and please ensure that you are audible. So we waste minimum for time for of your given time. Yeah.
And one more thing I would like to add, Atharva. So please clear your stand. Whether you are agree with the statement, you are disagree with the statement. Start your argument on your stand. Whether you are agree or disagree. Start with the what is your stand. So over to Atharva.
Yeah. So I think we should start with the group agree. Okay. So who is gonna give the opening statement?
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you, Swami.
Yeah. So, hello, everyone. My name is Soumya, and today we are going to discuss about the freedom of speech is non-negotiable. So, according to me, it should be non-negotiable since it's a freedom that's guaranteed by the Constitution, and it's there a provision for it, and that's how we have been brought up. So, to believe that we are free to express and we are free to say how we feel, are we like feel like putting or curtailing that in certain way in certain aspects could be problematic, because then there's taking away our fundamental rights that we have been guaranteed. So I think the freedom of speech should be non-negotiable.
Next. Agree group.
Hello everyone. Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes,
I can hear
Pallavi,
you.
please.
It's okay. So I totally agree with the thing that a freedom of speech it should non-negotiable. So I would like to just begin with a quote: "A man without freedom of speech is like a body without soul." For me, freedom of speech should be enjoyed by every individual without imposing any restrictions. I would like to put your attention towards what John Stuart Mill had. He was a political thinker. What really he had to say about freedom of speech and expression. He stated that freedom of expression should also be offered for those who endorse the idea that appears false or misleading even today. So, what reason he actually gave to this are, see, what appears false as an element, it really has an element of truth within it. Truth does not emerge itself, but it is through the conflicting views that truth emerges. We cannot be sure what we consider true is actually true. Often, ideas which were considered false at one point by the entire society and therefore suppressed turn out to be true later on. I would like to give a very great examples that history has provided us. So the two great scientists, Galileo and Copernicus, who were basically banned, their theories were banned just because they put forward the truth that the Earth is revolves around the sun and not the sun revolving around the earth. So where the church basically restricted them to express themselves, but we know what the truth is today. So that was the monarchy they lived in. We live in a democracy today. Freedom of speech and expression is a fundamental principle of democracy. So when we say putting restriction on it, certain authorities get that habit of putting on restriction, and that might be the misuse of power. So there was a recent case where CJ Anvi Ramanna, he very clearly said that it is like that a tool is given to a carpenter to just cut down a piece of wood and he uses it to cut the forest. So this would be our plight in a near future if we ourselves living in a democratic environment accept that restrictions must be put on freedom of speech and expression. Freedom of speech is a fundamental right. For that, society has to bear inconvenience to protect it from the people who want to restrict it. So lastly, I would like to conclude with the Voltaire statement: I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to death your right to say it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pallavi. The next one is Rohit Gupta from Group Agree.
Yeah, thank you, Atharva, and thank you the fellow teammates for explaining the concept of freedom of speech. So, I would like to begin. The freedom of speech is provided to every citizen in the country, not to foreigners in Indian Constitution, under Article 19 bracket 1. So, I agree with the statement that freedom of speech should be non-negotiable in the context of recent times, as we see there are so many of laws which now curtail freedom of speech on a various issues. So I would like to quote some laws. First is Sedition 124A. So sedition is such a problematic law which has been still continued in independent India, and there have been number of activists, number of people charged with it. So that's a problematic law in the country which needs to go. If we agree that freedom of speech is non-negotiable, there needs to be very reasonable restrictions according to constitution. But these laws, these things widens the scope of restrictions on freedom of speech. And the second thing is defamation under section 49, 499 and 500. There are so many of provisions in the constitution against defamation. So if a person gets offended by a person's speech, so it may charge a defamation case against them. and they may demand so much of compensation. And the third is hate speech. So how do you define the hate speech? That is the question. The authorities have always been, I think, on a biased platform on deciding what should what constitutes hate speech. There's so much of misuse of laws which are now, I think, it's problematic for freedom of speech. I will not go that freedom of speech should be completely absolute, because our constitution gives some six restrictions on freedom of speech, and which I agree that, yeah, that six should be fine. But this law widens the scope, and a very problematic thing, a very problematic section which I find in the constitution is section 295A, that is hurting religious sentiments. So a person may get offended very quickly on the basis of his religion. That if a person makes comment on or criticizes anything for institution, a temple or church, a mosque, it may offend their religion. So that may be that may form a case against section 295A, and the person may be charged against it. So we may never know how on when the person will get offended. So that's how I think freedom of speech should be non-negotiable, and this type of laws should be abolished or should be minimized their uh, uh, imprisonment tenures. That's what I want to say in freedom of speech.
Thank you, Rohit. The next one is from Team Agree, Sanjeevan.
Okay, yeah. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear, says George Orwell. Hello, everyone. Good evening to the judges and to all my fellow participants as well as the viewers. Myself, Sanjeevan Dabre from SYBA, will be speaking for the motion that freedom of speech is non negotiable. Freedom of speech is a right guaranteed for all, irrespective of their caste, creed, religion, status, etc. And it cannot be negotiable based on any or all of these grounds. Since freedom to express oneself freely is a basic right contemporary to breathing or having food. As consumption of food and breathing of oxygen is non negotiable, so is the freedom of speech. I would like to conclude with this statement of George Washington: if freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led like sheep to the slaughter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sanjeevan. And with Sanjeevan, the opening statement of Team Agree is over. Now we move towards the Team Disagree. And the first one to talk about this is Vedanti Patil.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to talk on the freedom of speech is non-negotiable. The Constitution of our India provides the right to freedom of speech. In Article 19, which states that all citizens have the right of freedom and speech of freedom of speech and expression. It is the basic right of every individual, as we know. But there are some limitations based on time, place, and manner that apply to all speakers. It is said that freedom of speech and expression are non-negotiable entities, and there is a need to find a golden mean between the freedom and the reasonable between freedom and reasonable restrictions. There are general restrictions that are intended to balance and the rights of legitimate government interests. Speech is a hybrid in that it parties both action and thought, but the speech will always pose some type of risk in any work, like hurting people, leading individuals to embrace their ideas, etc. However, the Constitution does not guarantee an absolute individual right to freedom of expression. There should be a limit on it. Uh, for example, if we realize that our freedom of speech is dangerous or harmful to another person, we should frown upon. Thank you.
Thank you, Vedanti. Next one to speak is Yamuna Devi from Team Disagree.
Good evening, everyone. I am Yamuna Devi Gupta from SYBA. Today, I am going to talk against the topic against the freedom of speech is non-negotiable. The freedom of speech and expression is vital to our ability to convey the opinions and beliefs and to meaningful participate in democracy. The state may participate in democracy. The state may, however, limit the freedom of expression and speech for certain reasons. The international and domestic law empowers the state to impose the limitations on the freedom of expression in order to advance broader aims, such as international security, public order, public health, and public morals. Yet, cases from around the world demonstrate that the freedom of speech and expression is vulnerable to unwanted restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you, Yamuna Devi. The next one from Team Disagrees, Khushi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kushi Vash, and today I am against with the given topic, that is freedom of speech is non-negotiable. I am with the freedom of speech is negotiable. When we are talking about the Article 19, it is the backbone of the Part 3 of the fundamental rights. Freedom of speech, and it is the basic human rights and the foundation upon which the democracy is built. It is also adopted by the United Nations in the UNDP Universal Declaration of Human Rights, given under Article 19, that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. These rights include freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through media and regardless of friend. As also it is also mentioned and given in Indian Constitution under Article 19 subclause 1, it is given everyone that right to freedom of a speech and expression. When we are talking about this term, it is like a two sides of a coin. Everyone has a pros and cons. We all are debating here because we all are with pros and cons. It is just like topic is familiar with this. Everything like we have a right, it also have a, some reasonable restriction here. Just imagine a scenario where everyone has a free right. You all are talking about it is non-negotiable. You all are the opponent party. Like everyone is, just imagine a scenario where everyone is free to do whatever you want to do. No one is restricting to you to kill somebody. Do that. You want to do anything, just do that. You are not bound by any kind of laws. But we are staying in the country, bro. We are staying in India. We are bound by certain laws. You must have to follow that. You born in this country, you have to follow. You have some reasonable restriction on the rights which you have. You are enjoying rights. You are all are enjoying rights. With it, you have to be. You have to be. You all are restricted with some kind of a laws with that. This is my point of view. Reasonable restriction are necessary with your rights. You are enjoying, you have a certain limitation on it. This was the topic which I want to share. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Khushi. And the last one to present its topic from the Team Disagree is Kisha.
Thank you, Atharva. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. A very good evening to everyone present here, the teachers, the participants, and all the viewers. I am Keisha Singh from SYBA, and I will be speaking against the agenda. That is, why freedom of speech should be negotiable. Freedom of speech and expression is a fundamental right guaranteed by our Constitution under Article 19(1)(a). However, it has certain reasonable restrictions. Reasonable restrictions are very important and are like rules which keep our country in check. Without certain rules, the democracy would be threatened. Hence, the freedom of speech should not be absolute and hence negotiable. The Constituent Assembly added these reasonable restrictions, keeping in mind that law and order needs to be maintained, and through further amendments the 16th Constitutional Amendment Act 1963, the interest of sovereignty and integrity of India was added as a reasonable restriction. Further, friendly relations with foreign countries was added through First Amendment Act 1951. Some other reasonable restrictions include security, public order, decency, hate speech, contempt of court, and defamation. I would like to give a live example that in before the meeting, our discussion beginning, sir gave us a note to keep in mind, and I would like to read it out. Respect the other's view and their right to speak. Violation of this will create negative impact on score, and ultimately marks will be reduced. This is a kind of restriction that was put up on our freedom of speech and expression to keep us from deviating from the topic and not bring our own personal agendas into it and have a fruitful conversation. And if we do so, we have to face consequences. Similarly, in the whole world, rights go hand in hand with rules and regulations. The liberal democracies, especially the West, have a wide interpretation of the freedom of speech and expression. People there have multiple ways to express their dissent, but they too have certain censorships to keep everyone in check. I would like to end by saying that rights have been given to us and need to be exercised with caution. And freedom is more purposeful when coupled with responsibilities. Thank you.
Atharva, I would like to Atharva.
Yes, sir.
I would like to request you to open this debate in the second round and
Yes, sir.
give opportunity to the now the first those are the agree with the statement. Give their opportunity to
Yes.
retaliate to the those are the disagree with the statement and be open frankly. Those who want to speak raise their hands and give them the mic. You know what I mean. So let's open the debate and everyone can counter what is the point of others one. Okay,
Yeah. So I will
over to
start
you.
with the participants and then we can move towards others. So, so we are moving towards the second round. First round was the opening statement, which has been given by both the sides, and now we will start with the second round, which is about countering and arguing about the competitor's point. So, first one, I would like to invite Soumya here, since she was the one who started to counter first. Soumya.
Okay, hello everyone. As everyone said that there should be some limits or parameters to talk, to speak. So just to go back to that, whatever about the parameters within the Constitution, which was enlisted as per the Article 19. If you look into that, what comes up is that there should be restrictions, and there are restrictions, but those restrictions look only out for situations in which a person's in which the the parameters in place, and look out for the situation in which a person's freedom of speech goes against the sovereignty of the state and not against a private individual, not against a specific communal groups. So in that case, if someone if there's a treason activity going on, so you're free to you can give, or you can give a or write a hate speech on that person, unless there is some restriction. There are restrictions to speak, but unless it's harming our sovereignty of the country, you can speak whatever you want.
Yeah. Thank you, Soumya. Uh, Jinesh, we will first finish the counter and
Actually, I was not able to fill in the Google form due to some technical issues, but I wanted to participate as a team member in the against part.
okay. But since we have started with the meeting, I hope you just contact the person members from team disagree and to discuss about it. So for the next person, I would like to invite Vedanti from team disagree, since she was the one who started with the team disagrees points. Vedanti.
I would like to give this opportunity to Isha. Isha, will you like to go ahead with the point?
I just wanted to know that will this be skipping my turn or am I just getting to speak in place of Vedanti? Atharva, I would just like to know that. That will I be
Yeah,
getting
you
a
can take.
chance?
Yeah.
Like, will I be getting a chance to speak again when it is
No,
actually my
no,
chance?
no.
No. Okay.
The next
So
time I will ask Vedanti then.
okay, fine. So the team which is speaking for the topic mentioned a few lines which I would like to have a explanation on those. Like I am not sure who spoke this, and I'm really sorry, but it was mentioned that certain aspects need to have restrictions. I think it was the first member who spoke. from the 4 team, and I would like them to explain what those certain aspects are on which reasonable restrictions should need to be in place. Isn't the constitution we have already have those certain aspects on which restrictions need to be imposed? And the second speaker gave an example of Galileo that and said that the church restricted them from giving out their opinion, which I would like to say was against. Had the church restricted them from giving out their opinion, people would not have even known about their three theories or their point of view existing. The church simply did not accept their point of view, and which later on was proved to be true. The church did not accept it. It wasn't that they weren't allowed to speak what they believed in. And then I guess it was Soumya, you mentioned a quote which said that I will disapprove of what you say, but I will die protecting your right to speech, if I'm not wrong. And if you look at, you say you disapprove of what I say, but if you actually go to see, that shows a person's lack of openness of mind to accept another person's thought process. That is the whole point of having a fruitful discussion, that even though you don't disapprove of it, but accepting what the other person has to say is what should be the context of having discussions like these. And I think Rohit mentioned that we would, while talking about that, we will never know when a person would be offended. I would like to counteract that point by saying that that shows our lack of tolerance for different kinds of opinions. Like he mentioned this during the point when he brought up religious. When he brought up the point of religion, that has always been an issue when it comes to the religions in India. We have never been tolerant enough to accept what the other religion has to offer. We have always been there to push the other religion down or not accept what they have to say. It has never been that we have been open to accepting what other people at least have to offer. Yeah, that is all I would like to say from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Kisha. I saw Pallavi raise hand from Team Agree. Pallavi, do you want to speak counter this point?
Yeah, I would like to specify actually what she just mentioned, that
I
Galileo
just
and
want to make
Copernicus.
one thing correct, that you will have this one opportunity to counter. Next time, the opportunity will be given to someone else.
Okay. So I just mentioned that Copernicus and Galileo, they were not restricted. Actually, what does restriction mean? Banning their books, imprisoning them, not allowing them to publicly express themselves. Doesn't that mean you're restricting their freedom of speech and expression? Okay. So when you also said that being intolerant, actually when you say that we have to put restrictions on somebody's point of views, actually you are putting restrictions on that particular individual. You're not being tolerant to that particular individual. You are not being tolerant for what the person has to say. Okay. And one more thing that was stated, that there are some restrictions. Yes, there are some restrictions, like you can't do a crime, you can't do any offenses, but freedom of speech, it's not a crime. It's not a crime to express yourself. So living in a democratic country, giving offenses or causing insult, it should never be a crime in a country that values expressions. That's it.
Thank you, Pallavi. Now, I invite anyone from
I
Team Disagree.
Atharva, can I just mention, like, correct myself or like give an explanation to Pallavi? Uh, she said, can I go
Kisha,
ahead?
yeah, I think you just spoke for in the last turn. So let have your
Okay,
teammates
sure,
counter it. So
sure,
once the cycle is complete, we can give someone else chance. Yeah.
sure.
Yamuna Devi, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I will counter first the Pallavi's statement. She said that the freedom of speech is not a crime, but if a person who has a status, like a important status in the society, and provokes the people against the government, against the state, like the some or provokes the public order, public health, or the public morals. So this can be charged under the sedition law, which was been there, correctly explained by the Kedarnath Singh's versus the State of Bihar judgment in 1962. And by this, I will be answering the Rohit question, like when he stated that it is like sedition should be not there. Like I didn't correctly remember that statement, but he said that there should not be any sedition, because the sedition itself is like violates our freedom of speech. But when we say that sedition के बारे में पूरा the full explanation the Supreme Court gave in this judgment, prevention the misuse and the abuse and overuse of the sedition law. And Supreme Court as well as said that whatever you want to say, express whatever you want to express, but don't incite people to violence. Or if your speech has the tendency to incite the people to violence, this is a sedition. You will be booked for it. And I would like to give the examples of Khalistan, where when the Indira Gandhi, to suppress the Khalistan movement, she conducted the Operation Blue Star. So we must not incite the people to against the state, so that our federal system get disrupted. So all these points. Thank you.
Thank you, Yamuna Devi, for the counter. Uh, does anyone want to counter this point from Team Agri? Rohit, Sanjeevan?
Yeah, I think the sedition voice is very invalid and very, let's say,
I'm not able
contextual,
to hear
taking
you
from
properly, Rohit. Can you just speak a
yeah,
little louder?
I think the sedition point from the last participant was very contextual and taken from a judgment, ignoring the data and figure. If you go by the data and figure, you read it in the newspaper that it's like there, I don't want to mention cases, but the people are charged with sedition on a minimal issue. If they say something related to cow in Assam, I can give you the back data or back news of it if the committee or the moderator asks for this. People were charged commenting against the cow. So what is the conviction rate on sedition? It's 3%. If there are 100 persons booked with the sedition, there are only 3 persons who are charged under it, and the rest all are means not proper evidence, nothing against them. But what the problem is, the sedition is a non-cognizable offense. It is a non-cognizable offense, and it raises and it bars away the every right to habeas corpus and everything. So it is a problem. That's why it is a problem. If you go by the judgment that incite violence, what is incite to violence? If I say let's go to Azad Maidan and protest, will it be count under incite to violence? Some may interpret it. Some may interpret it. Is it an incite of violence? I'm calling everyone to gather at the Azad Maidan, and I'm inciting the mob to protest against anything. So some may that may be contextual, but what is rate? Rate is only 3%. That is an issue. So that's why I think the last statement was very contextual, and it doesn't represent the reality of how misuse this sedition law has been used in the recent times. Yeah.
Thank you, Rohit. Does anyone from Team Disagree want to counter this point? Vedanti and Khushi. Yeah, Khushi raised her hand. Please go ahead, Khushi.
Khushi, you're muted.
Wait. Sorry. I want to counter attack Rohit when he said about the sedition law. Let me clear what is sedition law under a section 124A IPC. Laws of sedition. Anyone who does threatens to bring to hate or disaffection the government by law is guilty of crime of sedition, which is a punishable offense.
Now it was this law was made in 1816 when the British government was ruling in India. Whenever the Indians are opposed the British government, of course, under Sedition Act, they will put in that person in prison. But now, right now, you might be thinking, if I oppose government, I might be in a jail. You might be thinking about sedition is that. The reason is why sedition law is still active and prevalent in Indian constitution. And the sedition law was charged to those who are against. Why you are against with government? The thing is that you given the vote, you given power to that leader to run the government, to form a government and run this country. You have first power and you give your power to that government by voting. If you are disagree with your government, what government is doing, then next time you have to wait, and next time don't give vote to that party, you don't give vote to that leader. This was a thing, you given a vote, you have a power, you have to claim. And next, about the sedition, why it is still prevalent in Indian constitution, why it is not removed from our constitution. The thing is that I would like to clear it that suppose the neighboring country like the China and Pakistan, you all know what are their intention, we all know. If suppose China and might be the Pakistan and one of country thing to make Indian people against their government, they influence Indian people. If sedition law is not there, how government can take action against this? The question is that if suppose the other peoples, foreigners or other countries people influence Indians about to the anti-government, anti-national, then Indian law doesn't have any law to charge that people and do and put them in prison. That's why it is still active and prevalent on our constitution. That is the main reason behind still active in our constitution of this sedition law. So this was the point which I want to clear out to for the agree party, especially Rohit, which he mentioned about it. Yeah, that's what I want to say. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuship. Now, Sanjeevan, will you make the counter, please?
Sure. Thank you, Atharva. Um, as my opponent mentioned about the neighboring countries, that is China or India, like being what do we say, uh, making our people go against us. So there is this statement in the law of freedom of speech which says that freedom of speech is only limited to the citizens of the country. If people outside of the state, like outside of our nation, are doing it, they are obviously what do we say? They'll obviously have to face the consequences. It is just related to this nation which we should be considering. One more thing is about the point the same opponent made about killing someone. So that is an action which obviously is what do we say? Obviously is negotiable, and that is like that can be challenged in the court of law. But the speaking is not what is considered in that. Like killing someone is a different thing. Like actions and speech is a different context. So mixing both of them is not what is appropriate. One more thing is like freedom of speech. When we say it is negotiable, it includes those um, uh, restrictions which are made by law to the freedom of speech. So when we include those, the rest of like it therefore like it clears it there itself that other restrictions are like other restrictions cannot be put on the law itself, like except for the restrictions mentioned by the law, which are like those restrictions must be there, because without those restrictions the law is completely void. Like it's not even a democracy then later, like it's completely misused. One more thing what I had to say is, yeah, one of my opponents spoke about Galileo being targeted by the statesmen at that period of time, but we didn't have a democracy, like a state, a nation, and a constitution back then, which is prevalent now, and that is what the constitution guarantees for its citizens. So I complete my points there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeevan. And now I invite Vedanti from Team Disagree, since she is the one who has not counted any point yet. Vedanti? You are mute, Vedanti.
I don't have any voice right now. Sorry.
I think with that we are done with the one cycle of counter. Sham sir, uh, what do you think? Should we go for another cycle of counters, or we should give both teams time to make conclusion?
I think we should give the opportunity those are raising hand. Like Isha is there, Pallavi is there. Want to mention some points. Those are the one. Look, see, we do not want to people who want to share their views, and we are not going to provide their opportunity to them. So it's a freedom of speech is should must be here, and should must be given opportunity to those raising their hands. So I think Atharva,
Okay,
give them opportunity to speak.
okay. So I think Kisha was the
But
one who
but
raised him.
but in a very brief manner, don't be elaborate much, because we have a limitation of time also.
So from now on, participants, please keep your counter within 1 minute, so we can have others to elaborate their point also. So in the last agree counter, Kisha raised her hand, so I'm giving her first opportunity. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Atharva. I would like to mention a point to Pallavi that being tolerant is when you accept what is when you at least listen what the person has to say. Accepting or disapproving is a different thing. Being tolerant is taking one step ahead to accepting what the other person has to say. Accepting or not, that depends upon you, but at least one should have that openness of mind to at least listen and to listen to what the person has to say. Right or wrong, you can make that decision for yourself. And whatever I said, I was very tolerant, accepting your points, what you have to say. Do I agree with them or not? That is my decision. But I am being tolerant, accepting, and I am asking an explanation so that maybe if your point is much better than mine, I can accept it. That is what being tolerant is. And I think Sanjeevan raised the point about like killing someone, it being an action, and freedom of speech just being a thought or just being speech. We cannot wait for speeches to become actions. Like if I'm shouting that I will go kill somebody one day, I will go kill that person, I will go kill that person. It doesn't have much to say. But then if tomorrow I go and actually kill that person, I will be sent into jail. So that kind of doesn't make sense. Like if action could have been taken when I had been publicly announcing that I will be taking some sort of action against this person, action should have been taken to prevent that in the first place rather than waiting for my speeches to become an action. And you also mentioned that I mentioned about Galileo. It was a member from your team itself that brought Galileo into the picture when the democracy did not exist. So yeah, that's points from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Kisha. After Kisha, Rohit raised his hand. Rohit, would you like to speak?
Yeah, so one definition or one thing which I want to say to the other team is like there are two D's which we need to follow. One is democracy, and other is dissent. So when you are selecting a government, it doesn't mean that for the 5 years you need to be shut up and then accept everything government says. So for sedition thing, I just had a one counter argument that China and all. I don't want to argue on that. That there is a there are environmentalists charged on the sedition law, so they are conservative to environment. They don't have anything borders related. They don't want कि Pakistan का environment ज़्यादा अच्छा हो जाए India से. So they don't have anything like that. They have their concerns. So they were charged under sedition, and it is a case. Disha Ravi, I want to mention if someone is not clear. So that's the thing. And the second thing is while being allowing dissent. Okay, while allowing dissent, you can't decide ki matlab what should be the parameters. Like the last participant say, if I am telling I will kill someone, I will kill someone, on the basis of that, it shouldn't be like that, that your freedom of speech should be restricted. We are allowing your freedom of speech. If we don't allow your freedom of speech, we might never know कि तुम kill करोगे या नहीं करोगे. That's the different point. But on assuming that you are shouting, I will kill the person, I will uh, divide India, I will divide India, I will do everything. On the basis of that, we can't suppress your freedom of speech. We are allowing it. That's why it is non-negotiable. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Rohit. Uh, After Rohit, Kisha and Yamuna Devi both raised her hand. So who would like to counter this point?
Yamuna can go ahead, and if there's time left, I would like to take it up.
Yeah. Yamuna Devi, please go ahead.
Yeah, as the four group said that the this is the non-bailable offense. Yes, the sedition is non-bailable offense. It should be a bailable offense. I agree to it. But when it comes to like defamation of the any of the like uh, political, not a political person, but are someone like who has contributed to the like army officers or all those person who has contributed to India, and to contempt of the court. The contempt of the court should be like they should be charged under the sedition. Like we cannot counter the Supreme Court and public order and all those things. We should be it should be charged under the sedition. And sedition is to prevent the violence. It's not to curb the your freedom of speech. That's it from my side.
Okay. Thank you, Yamuna Devi. Now, when Rohit was speaking, both Pallavi and Sanjeevan raised her hand. Since Pallavi raised it first, I would like to give chance to Pallavi.
Okay. Uh, so again, I would like to say about the tolerance. What just exact right now mentioned. So of course, tolerance means listening to others. Accepting or not accepting is the another part, but just to listen. I am listening your point of views. Agreeing or disagreeing, it's completely up to me. And that's what freedom of speech also says. Where you just have to listen. You don't have to agree that person, that whether you agree or disagree, it's your point of view. Okay. And second thing, also mentioned that you have appointed the government and you have to shut up. You can't say anything. You have to shut up until the next elections. Actually, want to say that we have really appointed that government over there, and that government is accountable to us. And one more thing said by that speech leads to the action. So just restricting on a particular person, that his freedom of speech should be restricted on just for these things that it might lead to the action in future. It's just like prevent like detaining someone just in just like that person might create offenses or might do something in future, and you are detaining that particular person. So we really know what this actually has resulted the emergency period, that is just on the basis that they might do something, so we are restricting them. So that really doesn't sound good. So that's it from my side.
Thank you, Pallavi. I see Kisha raise her hand. Go ahead, Kisha, please.
Yeah. Um, the point of tolerance which I had brought up was not regarding was not regarding it curtailing our freedom of speech and expression. It was it regarding being our religious tolerance. If you missed that out, it was about being religiously tolerant. That if, like for example, if there is a procession going on about Hindus, other religions should be tolerant enough to let them execute that procession and not create a scene about it. I was talking about that kind of tolerance, and not it being. And even during freedom of speech and expression, you should be tolerant enough to listen to what the other person has to say. And one more point you mentioned is that about me killing is that a person exclaiming to perform an action and then being detained. That is the whole point of it being preventive detention. If, for example, a person, rather than it being a civilian, takes a name of a political leader or somebody in power, that person would be put behind bars immediately. That is what preventive detention is, to prevent something very wrong from happening. It might be wrong, but it was the person's fault for making that statement. That is all I would like to say. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kisha. I am seeing Sanjeevan raise his hand. Sanjeevan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Atharva. Um, just to speak on the point of tolerance for one last time, since the point was made many a times, when the point was first taken up, my opponent Kisha, she mentioned that just being tolerant is not what we should be doing, but we should be able to accept. Otherwise, it's like not free, like we are not being what do we say, like getting in the, sorry, I'm not getting the word, but we are not open or giving them the opportunity to mention their points. Like we are just hearing to them and not giving them the opportunity to mention their points. So that is the point which I had to make.
Sanjeevan, can you hear me? I think he has some network issues. Yeah, Sanjeevan, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. Um, it was, yeah. So I was on the point of. I hope I was audible until I left.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Okay. So on the point of tolerance, like as my opponent Kisha mentioned, in the initial stage, she mentioned about not just being tolerant, but being taking the points into like even agreeing to the points. So that isn't what is included in the freedom of speech. Like you just have to be what do we say? Just passively, a passive listener is also okay for the freedom of speech. Like you just have to be uh, yeah, you don't have to agree to the points necessarily. That is when she even took up the quote by Evelyn Hall, like I disapprove of what you would say, but I'll still defend. So where that goes is like even if I am disagreeing, I'm still standing by your side. That is where it says that I am giving you full freedom of speech. So that is a point which I had to make. And the second point is like as my colleague Rohit and Priyanka, Pallavi mentioned about the actions and like on to which my opponent countered, like the actions and speech being a different sting, like even that on that I had made a point earlier. So like we can't wait for actions to happen and we should restrict the speeches that itself. But there's a point in the law, like we have this reasonable restrictions on the freedom of speech, and after that it comes as non-negotiable. So when there are these restrictions, those are as the matter of law, those are supposed to be implemented. But regardless of that, if you are implementing those any restrictions on people just thinking that they might commit any offense without even having some what purview of their actions or like their motive, then it is obviously not agreed to upon. Thank you.
Yeah. Uh, I see Kisha being raised her hand. Kisha, please speak.
Yeah, thank you, Atharva. I would like to. The point about being tolerant is that accepting does not mean that you accept. Like if somebody's I will not be accepting what the side has to say, but in a way, accept is like I am accepting and I am not agreeing to what you guys say, but I accept the point that you brought it up. It is verbatim that I think there has been miscommunication about. I would not agree or disagree, that is my point, but I do accept with what you guys have to say and I am being tolerant about it and listening. And when you bring up the point of detention, it is not something I'm making up. It is already there in our constitution and it has been there for a particular reason, to prevent major violence or crimes from happening. That if public statements have been made, or the government or the police or xyz, whoever receives some or the other sort of information about something huge that is about to happen and that could hamper the security, integrity, or it could harm our nation or people at large in any way, that should be curtailed. We cannot wait for things to actually happen and then think about it, oh, we should have done that. That we cannot. That is the only reason it is called preventive detention. You make sure things, you stop things before they get onto a much worse situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kisha. Uh, I see Sanjeevan raised her hand, but before asking him, would Soumya like to speak because she hasn't spoken after the first cycle?
No, no.
Okay. Sanjeevan,
Sanjeevan, go.
please go ahead.
Okay, so just a small point to make. When a person says that I will stand by you until death to prevent your to make sure that you can speak what you have to, there clearly it indicates that he is that much what is tolerant, and he has that the humanity and the things needed by law, that yeah, I will be there for you. So there, I don't think there is anything else needed. Like you should accept his point, and even what do we say, in even in hypocritic terms, or even like in whichever way, he doesn't actually have to accept it in any way. Like since he is agreeing to the he is supporting the person, that itself is enough.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sanjeevan.
thank you.
Uh, I saw Pallavi and Kisha raise her hand, but before asking them, I would like to ask Vedanti, since she hadn't spoken in the second round. So, Vedanti, would you like to counter?
No, Atharva, let others go ahead.
Okay, then since Pallavi was the first one to raise her hand, I will ask Pallavi. Pallavi, are you there? Okay,
Atharva,
I will, yes, sir.
I would like to intervene. Atharva, please give now the concluding remarks
Yeah.
from one group and the another one. Now Kisha is waiting from the disagree group, so she gives the opportunity. And as she is raising her hand, and if the other one from the agree group wants to raise their hand and speak, so just concluding remark in 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay. So, Kisha, would you like to give the concluding remark?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I would again like to say that I still stand by my point of being that freedom of speech should be negotiable, and the only reason that the democracy has been able to progress this far is because we have some sort of rules and regulations to keep all of us in check and to not prevent us from committing crimes or treasons against the state. And I would once more just like to correct not correct, just to make a statement that my points I think were mixed when I brought up the point of tolerance. My point of tolerance was against the religious aspects of people and not on being intolerant as a whole. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Kisha. Who would like to come and give conclusion from the agree group? Okay, I see Sanjeevan raising his hand, so I will give Sanjeevan opportunity to conclude their part.
Thank you for the opportunity. When we talk about a complex structure like the Constitution of India, which we brag upon of being the lengthiest constitution in the world, that is, it is um, obvious that there will be disagreements at many points of time and at many corners. But being together, like even after that, standing together to the laws, and uh, wherever we feel need, agreeing and disagreeing upon them and raising a voice, which is the motive of freedom of speech, is necessary, and that is what we are here together for, and I'm happy about that as well. So to conclude about the debate, um, every person has a different opinion on these topics, but to, as we have already discussed about being tolerant as well, so being tolerant about the topics and accept taking their points in consideration is what makes a difference. So I hope this debate becomes fruitful for all of us and has given us a different viewpoint to the topic of being negotiable, like being the freedom of speech being non-negotiable, for and against. So as every point, every coin has two sides, so does this debate has. But thank you for the overall participation and for the opportunity as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeevan. And with this, we have conclusions from both of the groups. So, uh, yeah,
Atharva, now I would like to take a 5 minute break. Exactly 5:07, 17:07. 5 बजकर 7 मिनट पर हम स्टार्ट करेंगे और I will declare the results from
okay.
both of the groups. Okay.
So, I request all participants as well as the viewers to wait patiently for 5 minutes. Our moderator Sham sir will announce the results in 5 minutes. Till and One of my colleagues will put the feedback form in the chat box. Please fill it, and we will get back. Meanwhile, I would like to ask the viewers if they have any points they want to make or any comments that they want to share. Anyone from the viewers? I would again request viewers to fill the feedback form. It has been posted in the chat box.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to say that the debate was really nice and very interactive from both the sides, and I really like the debate. And from the from the agree and disagree groups, both of them like really was really helpful to spread our horizons, and it was really envisioning. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Priyanka. Does any other viewer have any comments?
Sorry for the delay. Within couple of minutes, I will be get back to you. Okay. Okay, Atharva.
Yes, sir. No issues. So I ask everyone to wait patiently for a few more minutes.
Atharva,
Yes, sir.
may I start? May I start?
Yeah, the floor is yours, sir. Please announce the results.
Okay. Okay, Atharva. Before to start my entire elaboration about result, I would like to ask everyone: do you want to comment anything about regarding the debate or anything about result? Is there any query doubts regarding with the debate or any comment?
I think no one has any comments since I also asked them before. So you
Okay.
can proceed.
Okay, then before to give my results, Pallavi raise give two citations. I'm just one by one. I'm giving the elaboration about the result. But before to give exact marks, I'm going to be elaborate what points raised by the participants. Pallavi from the Agri Group gave the two citations: J.S. Mill's example, Galileo's example, and countering Kisha on tolerance, and uh, she defined the agree and disagree. views. So and she countering the Khushi's argument about wait for the next government. So how to can we can wait for the next government? She gives the example of emergency. She gives the example of you know the Khalistani argument and all that things. So Pallavi's argument was there. After that, Rohit deal very well. He gives the defamation. He asked the question how to define the hate speech. The hate speech argument regarding with the freedom of speech was very very hot argument, we can call it a very big argument, hate speech and how to define it. Rohit gives some articles of constitutions, and along with that he also elaborated the example of sedition, and he gave the example of Disha Ravi. It is contradictory, but in this debate we can accept that. Sanjeevan raised some serious arguments with Kisha and other participants. He started with a quotation that was nice, and George Washington's his example was very well. Voltaire's his statement on Voltaire's he quoted Voltaire. As the statement Voltaire, as he said that about I'm not agree with your statement, but I will stand with you till my last breath for your right to speak. So this statement, Voltaire's statement quoted by Sanjeevan, Vedanti elaborated the respect in the disagree group. Vedanti quoted about the elaborated the disrespect for others and how can you are going to be accept that if you are going to be disrespect anyone others one. Yamuna Devi speaks very well. She discussed about why we need to non-negotiable rights, crime and other things. She gives the citation of Kedarnath case of Supreme Court, and she quoted SC judgments, various judgments in her arguments. She countered the sedition also. She countered the federalism example. I think Yamuna Devi quoted that about the federalism and Indira Gandhi's view. She also countered the contempt of court and sedition also. So Yamuna Devi elaborated very well. Khushi starts very well. Give reasonable restrictions. She argue for reasonable restrictions. Examples she gives in daily life. Example like she quoted our mice. The note rule in the note. She quoted that. So it's very well by Khushi, and she also counter the sedition argument of Rohit. But the problem is with that she argued that right to vote, why we need to oppose government. Actually, her point of view, we need to welcome her point of view. But for as the factual point of view, we have need to oppose the government when we have dissent with it. Okay, so its point of view is completely welcome and accepted. As we should wait for the next government. And she also counter on the sedition issue with the Rohit. Then Kisha, the single girl, counted the entire debate with one-handed, and she started as a threat to democracy, and some citation rules she elaborated. She gives the example of countering the church. She countered Pallavi very well. And along with that, she countering Sanjeevan. Along with that, she countering Rohit also. And she elaborated the preventive detention and its requirement, and all that things are there in the constitution. So these are the all arguments from both of the sides. So now the results. Soumya and Vedanti did very well, but because of their very short participation, and other from the first group, agri group, there are like Sanjeevan and Rohit speaks very well, but the best contender participant for this debate, as I think, is Pallavi. Pallavi speaks very well. She strictly on the restriction, strict to their topic, and gives facts very well. She gives some citations, examples, and countering Kisha very well. So 39 marks I allotted to Pallavi, and she is the first rank in the agri group. And a disagree group. In the disagree group, uh, there is very tough fight. Yamuna Devi, Khushi, and Kisha speaks very well. All three participants, actually, there are very. It's very difficult for me to decide who is the best one. Actually, Pallavi and Rohit was speaks very well. Among them, it's very difficult. And in the disagree group, Yamuna Devi, Khushi, and Kisha speaks very well. So it was very difficult for me to decide who was the best one of. But in the disagree group, Kisha speaks very well. And two things I would like to mention is that Sanjeevan Debre counter his own group. The argument of Galileo, which was raised by Pallavi. So because of this, and along with that, Khushis expressed that you should need to wait the next government for the 5 years. So these are the points which creates some kind of negative sense in one sense, and so in the points table it will create negative impact on their scores. So from my side, the disagree group, from the disagree group, Kisha is the winner, and from the agree group, Pallavi is the winner. Over to Atharva.
So thank you, sir, for declaring the results, and congratulations to Kisha and Pallavi both to getting the highest rank within their respective groups.
Okay.
Now, as we mentioned earlier, that these two prizes will have cash prize of respective 500 rupees, and please contact the PSA team for the further procedure. Uh, before
Before to
ending,
conclude, I would like to just mention
I
that.
just want to ask you, before concluding, I would like to ask Sham sir to give
Yeah.
his own insights and views and what he felt during listening to this conversation, and any advice to our participants as well as viewers on like how debate should be, or what kind of things which you could have done to improve it. Yeah, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Atharva. Actually, the issue is that uh, some kind of I feel that most of the students try to speak well, but some students like Soumya and Vedanti didn't participate well. So if you are actually, the problem is that we have a very short period to prepare. Like Vedanti called me after the afternoon and preparing after that. So it is problematic. Actually, the time was actually, I also discussed with the issue of Rohit that time is very short to prepare. But in this time period, as we the debate time period for as the 1 hour, uh, Pallavi and Kisha speaks well. We do not need to prepare well. We are the person who living in the age of technology, and along with that, we are listening the all facts, all events, all incidences in our environment. Like freedom of expression is nothing. We don't need to read more than that. This is the part and parcel of our life, the particular right we are talking about. So we need not to prepare from other sources or from books or from any other well speaker. It is the daily life example about our freedom of speech. And as far as the issue is concerned about debate, the debate was concentrated on some issues like toleration, sedition. These are the not original issues related with the freedom of speech is non-negotiable. But yes, in the larger perspective, we can accept that. But as Pallavi and Rohit was still concentrated on these the positive issues, so they were likely strictly, they were like strict to concentrate on the issue. Only Rohit and Pallavi was there. But along with that, the issues raised by Rohit, sedition, and Pallavi countered by the another group. So the another issues are raised. Sedition is a very huge point to discuss, very huge topic to discuss. Along with that, these the other about the toleration debate was very big in the 2015. There was very big discussion around the topic like toleration and intoleration in the country. So I think we missed the exact core of this topic: freedom of speech. Is it negotiable? from one side, theoretically, what can we say? And it largely people quoted the Indian Constitution. Some people quoted about Human Rights Declaration. But what we need to, is that freedom of speech is it was not only in Indian context. So you can give example from the theoretical one, as already explained idealist theory today. So you can theoretically you can give examples for that. So I think Vedanti quoted that like to respect others one. So as far as the issue is concerned with freedom of speech is non-negotiable. Some people speaks well and some speak counter well. So the debate was well, and so as I think that it should not be limited like in Indian context. So and some people give example from other countries also, like China's issue was raised by some people. So it was well, but as far as the issue, what is my opinion for this issue is not important. See, I am here for to teach you uh, to how to make your opinion. I'm not here for to tell you what is my opinion. In the classes also, I'm not for there for what is my opinion. I am here and I'm teaching you for to how to make your opinion. So whatever your opinion, some people Rohit argue for Disha Ravi. It's okay, fine, very well. And some people counter that side, counters like Kisha countering the sedition, and Khushi is countering about the the extreme anti-government arguments. I would like to just mention about the sedition provision in very short, in very briefly. That sedition means what is the definition of that Article 124 or 153A? Is that sedition means it is the rebel against the state. It is not against the government. What is the definition of sedition? Sedition means you are going to criticize the existence of state. You are going to against the existence of state. It does not mean that you are going to criticize the government. If you are going to criticize the government and you are against the existence of government, it is not in the so-called, it is not coming in the so-called definition of sedition. So please try to understand that sedition means, what is the actual definition is, sedition means it is the crime which is against the existence of state. So it should be must again understand about the sedition. Overall, the debate was well. All participants speaks well. Indian Constitution's articles elaborated by Rohit and other almost all participants give the examples from Indian Constitution. So it was well, and I was very impressed with the arguments of Kisha, Pallavi, Rohit, and all other participants. Like Sanjeevan speaks very well. He concluded from his group, so it was very well. And congratulate for the winners and best wishes to the others. Over to Atharva.
Thank you, sir. I think we have Purnima ma'am here. She's a student coordinator for PSA, and she also attended this debate. So, would you like to speak anything, ma'am?
No, as I think Sham sir has very well elaborated on the debate point. I am just here to congratulate all the participants for participating, and I think participating in activities are more important, getting experience, and I'm sure whatever Sham sir has guided you will help you in further activities. So congratulations to winners and all the best to all the participants. I'm sure you guys will do well in further activities. And please keep participating and learning. So thank you. Thank you, Atharva.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for your words. I thank both Sham sir and Purnima ma'am for giving us the direction as well as showing us the way forward. And from my personal point of view, the debate was very enriching, and both sides put with many good views. And I can say that this debate was very successful in bringing forward many topics which we have never discussed earlier. And this was very fruitful discussion. Uh, Before ending, I would just like to say that as I said earlier, this debate was a part of Human Rights Week, which is celebrated by PSA. and this was day 4. Tomorrow, which is day 5, we are going to have a film discussion and screening on this film called Borderlands. I hope that everyone here please join us tomorrow and have a discussion on this interesting films which shows the rights of refugees and many other conditions. I hope you will definitely like it. And I formally announce that we can end this meet. And it was nice to see you all. And I also would like to thank participants as well as viewers to come here and present your opinions. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, Atharva, just a minute, just a minute. So yeah, thank you everyone for participating in the student activity. As Atharva mentioned, tomorrow we have another film discussion. So the person from TY Pol Science, we have a subject understanding politics through films. So Purnima ma'am knows it. So everyone who is in SY or FY who wishes to take political science as their major. So we have organized such type of activity tomorrow. That is Borderlands. That is the right to refugees. There are 5 families shown in that film, and it reflects what a person goes through if he lives near the border. If the person lives near the border, so I think that's a very important rights of refugees in international curricula. When we talk about rights, as Sam Shah said, we should not restrict rights to Indian context only. We should look it on international basis. So I think that tomorrow discussion will be more fruitful. There would be nothing competition, no thing. It will be a free open discussion for students, what they think, what they agree. So I invite everyone in this present here to be there for tomorrow's film discussion. I expect a good number. Thank you, everyone.
We are done with the debate competition. All participants can leave. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.